Welcome in. Abby Jones here with none other than Max Hooper, the head coach of the Texas Legends. First year head coach and first time girl dad, might I
Absolutely.
add. Congratulations
Thank
on
you,
the
thank
newest
you,
addition
thank
to
you.
your family. I just kind of want to talk about this year. It was, first test for you as a head coach in this position. I know this is a moment that you've dreamed about. What did it even mean to get the nod to be over in the squad?
Yeah, it was an awesome opportunity. I've been in player development, been in video for the previous 6 seasons, so that kind of built the foundation for what I wanted to do, and it helped me, um, and learn a lot of the philosophies that Coach Kidd uses with the Mavs, and then even going back to my time, Frank Vogel, who's now here with the Lakers, seeing those guys up close and personal as head coaches, what they brought to the table, and then, being someone I've never been a head coach before this season, so was humbled by that opportunity and just grateful for that the Mavs saw that it would make sense for me to transition from the Mavs to the Legends. And we'll talk about more later, but just trying to promote that seamless transition for players and try to make the two ecosystems as cohesive as possible. So that was my biggest thing going into this season, and just, again, humility, gratitude, and just it was an awesome season.
We've got a lot to dive into, a lot of highlights for a lot of guys. I want to talk about, now that you've had some time away from the court, what is the thing that stands out to you the most about this season?
Yeah, the G League is all about adaptability. So adapting to players changing, adapting to the opponents changing, just unpredictability of what's going on. And every time I was tasked with, okay, in this situation, we don't have what we expected. What do we do? Game plan wise, lineup wise, practice wise, we don't have 10 players. What do we do? So each of those questions, I always try to either make a mental note or write it down in my journal and just be like, hey, this was an opportunity for me to choose one or the other. And then sometimes I feel like I chose right, sometimes I definitely chose wrong, but it's always learning, growth, and development. So even though Gatorade sponsored the league, it's still a developmental league. It used to be the developmental league, it's still the developmental league. And I think from game one to the last game I coached 48, missing the last two because of my daughter's birth, but to game 48, definitely a lot of improvement and perspective that I gained from that the whole season.
And you've been around the NBA for quite some time, like you mentioned, with Jason Kidd. What about that partnership allowed you to coach this team with really the vision in mind of what the Mavericks want throughout the organization?
Yeah, Jay Kidd has certain fundamentals. It's not necessarily, let's say, written on the wall or spoken, but being around him, knowing what he's all about. It's about being a team player. It's about being adaptable, about competing at the highest level, unselfish play, and intellect as a player, not just being a player who's about putting points on the board, but being a winning player and a player who impacts winning night in and night out. And I talked about those themes all season long, good and bad. When we did those things, I praised the team. When we didn't, I got on them and let them know that it wasn't acceptable. But I tried to basically connect what would work with the Legends, that would most likely work with the Mavs as well. So we want to reward the same type of things. We want to reward the same style of play on both sides of the ball. So then ultimately, you play for the Legends, you're getting as similar to an experience as you are playing with the Mavs. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same, but that was definitely the goal in coming to join the Legends staff.
Definitely the consensus with the players too. We'll get into that. But one achievement that is a direct feature to you is you finished the season with the second most call-ups in franchise history. I know that you are a head coach that values that player development that we talked about. So first of all, what does that accomplishment mean to you?
I was unaware of that. That's very cool. That's fun. That's great. The approach to the season is always process over results. So we want to be doing things the right way. We want to be emphasizing the right things. And then hopefully from that, the byproduct is wins. Hopefully from winning and guys playing well, doing it well in their role, playing efficient basketball on offense, competing at a high level on defense. Hopefully that translates into call-ups and further opportunities. Guys becoming two-ways. Guys basically being promoted from wherever they're at. I started the season, if you're on a two-way, your goal should be a standard contract. If you're on an E10, your goal should be a two-way. And if you have no extra money, your goal should be trying to go from a local tryout or a draft player going to an E10 to the next season. So advancement, guys pursuing that was the theme all season, and we tried to focus on that as much as possible. And ultimately, if the byproduct was guys moving up to the NBA, that's great, and we're happy with that, and we want more of that.
Even better, obviously, when they move up within your organization. Just how much pride do you take in the homegrown development here?
Oh, that's important. A cool part of being with the Mavs staff as well as with the Legends staff is the whole process. Say, for example, Miles Kelly, Musa Cisse, and Ryan Nembhard. Like I started my learning about those guys when we had them in for a draft workout in June. So that's June 2025, right? That starts now. Okay, we don't know what team they're going to go to. Now they end up with Mavs Summer League. Now I'm working with them in July, so I have an opportunity to work with them in July. From that, Miles and Ryan were already on two-ways. Musa gets a two-way. Now I'm working with those guys in training camp. I go to Vancouver and attend training camp, and then ultimately now I transition over to the Legends side, and then we work with them whenever they come. You know, the two-ways, we don't know when they're going to be available, so we're ready for them whenever they come. But just seeing that whole process, I wasn't really as aware of that. I kind of knew it was like that, but seeing it through and seeing them at different stages was really cool to see those guys develop. And then ultimately Ryan Nembhard getting the standard conversion. It's a goal of the whole program, right? If you have a guy on a two-way, you want to believe in him so much that he can become your 15th man. He can advance in your organization rather than having to do it externally. So that's a win for the Legends, Mavs, and the whole program as we have it set up.
I want to talk about Comerica Center. My first game there was popcorn flying everywhere. There actually were the flashing lights because of some smoke detector or something. I was like, Kyle, is this a part of the program here? He said, you never know what you're going to get at the G League. It's very true. What do you think the Comerica Center and that experience for the players?
So before I had attended the games, but it's different being on the sideline and like coaching the game and then seeing a t-shirt fly over your head as the ball's being dribbled down the court. Obviously, I'm joking. It did happen one time. But the environment, like not to disrespect any of the other G League arenas, but it's like what the Legends do and what their staff does to their game day operations do to get that atmosphere at a high level, energy, enthusiastic. Even if a game wasn't as dramatic as it felt, like the fans always knew how to inject that energy, and that ultimately got the most out of our players. It got our guys to compete, play hard. And a big theme for me was even when we were eliminated from the playoffs at the end of the season, like that was our body of work. Like those games still matter. They matter for your evaluation as a player. They matter for us continuing to hammer home habits, but the fans made that much easier because now the Legends fans are itching for a win at the end of the season. And then we got guys playing. I'm like, we're playing harder at the end of March when we're eliminated than we were almost all season. So like, all jokes aside, that's a really cool thing to be a part of, and it's we're proud to represent that as the Legends coaching staff.
You mentioned the hot streak at the end. You guys won 7 of your last 10. What do you think the team found? I mean, we'll get into your philosophies in a bit, but that was really impressive and incredible to end on such a high note because you told me in pregame conversations you want these guys to continue with momentum because they're going into their summer work. So how important was that for you?
That's a good theme that you just brought up where these guys are going to play elsewhere, right? We already talked about it off air, but Delano Banton, he's still playing basketball this season. He's still playing with Boston Celtics, and then guys are going to go play in Summer League. They're going to go play overseas. They're going to go play on hopefully NBA two-ways or teams next year, wherever or maybe they're back with the Legends. You never know, but you want to be proud of what each game you want to put that body of work out there. So, like I said, process over results. So once we try to, I feel like our process was sound all season, and then sometimes the wins just don't come. You know, sometimes the shots don't go in. Sometimes as a coach you reflect, I should have done this differently, but we just hit our stride later in the season, and I was almost itching like, man, I wish we had more games to play because this is really cool, and it was a really fun part of the culture that I really wanted to have all season. So ideally we would have hit that hot streak a little bit earlier, but really cool to be a part of. And then you kind of just, February was tough for us, right? We didn't win a game all of February, but then you feel much better about the way March ended, and I think everyone walks away from the season, regardless of how many games of the 50 that you participated in. If you participate at the end, you feel good about the stamp you left on this thing.
Well, Jason Kidd gave you a great compliment. Obviously, Hall of Fame player. He knows what it takes to be a good player. His definition is making those around you better. He said that is exactly what you do. I want to talk about the special players that you got to work with this season because of the call-ups that we're going to get into. Ryan Nembhard obviously has to be the most impressive story from this season. Undrafted, we are aware of what his brother does at the NBA level. For him to sign the standard contract, how much does that mean to you as a head coach? When you were with him, like you said, from last season, 2025.
Yeah, no, I mean, seeing the whole journey was really cool because this was a guy who came in the draft workout fighting to get drafted, fighting for a two-way, but now he's on a standard contract with the Mavs, and the Mavs believe in him, and he got better. Like, no, make no mistake about it. Like, he was when we first saw him at Summer League or whatever, he was not the same player that he was in this April. Like, confidence through the roof, and like 23 assists, coming off shooting his three ball much better, got better at the floater, and then guarding at a higher level. So Ryan Nembhard, he was a pleasure to coach. I only got to coach him for 6 games. 1 game at the beginning of the season, 5 games in February. So yeah, it was, but I did interact with him whenever I would go to the Mavs practices or be around. And I mean, he earned it. He deserves it. Like, high-level player, but more than that, just like high-level competitor. And as you said, Coach Kidd talks about being a player who is impactful is one who makes everyone better. He 100% makes everyone better on the floor. And then like a cool little story with him was when he came to the Legends. Before that, I was like getting my voice and like when I'm calling the plays, who I'm directing to call the plays. And then the first game, he started calling all the plays, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is what he brings to the table. And the point guard, as everyone always says, is a coach on the floor, an extension of the coach. And then he and I were able to collaborate on the sideline. Hey, what are you seeing? What coverage are we attacking? Who do we want to put in the action? All that type of thing. So that dialogue was really cool because you can see he sees the game from a bird's eye view. He's not just like focused on like what's going on in his lane. So that all explains why he's in the position he's in. And we hope to continue to develop him. And I believe the sky's the limit. That guy has massive potential in the NBA.
Was a nice little cherry on the top when he recorded a career high in the G League of 17 assists in a game. Another one I want to talk about is Delano Banton. Now, we love when you can keep it within the organization, but at the same time, these are guys' dreams coming true. Now, he signed a 2-year contract with the Boston Celtics. You mentioned that you're watching him get some minutes in playoffs as well. We've talked off camera about how you can distinguish NBA talent. Delano Banton is a guy that has been in the NBA for quite some time. What was it like to see that level of talent on a nightly basis?
Yeah, he's his resume speaks for itself. 4 years NBA, and then he averaged almost 17 points a game with Portland 2 years ago. So he's proven at the NBA level, and like he was a player I'm looking like we're not even supposed to have this guy, or we're going to be lucky to even have him. And he ended up playing quite a few games for the Legends, so the majority of the season with the Legends, and his professionalism, like I knew he wanted to play in the NBA. I knew he belonged in the NBA. I believed he was an NBA talent the whole season. I always said that whenever anyone asked me about him, but he approached the G League like with a workman-like mentality, and we pushed him just like any other player. Like, I held him to the same standard I would hold everyone to. So he got out of the G League what he needed to get out of it, and he was one of the most dynamic and like dominant offensive players in the G League. And then now he's back where he belongs. He's on that NBA roster, fighting to continue to improve his game and advance his career. But he was a pleasure to coach, super creative and aggressive offensive player who can pretty much offensively do everything, like shoot, pass, get to the rim, break his man down, all those sorts of things. So a pleasure to coach. And I do think we held him to certain standards that helped him get better throughout the season and got him back to where he needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, he finished top 5 in scoring, averaging 22 points a game at the G. Another one is JRE, and coach, that stands for Just Rebound Everything. I'm talking about Jeremiah Robinson Earl. He caught up quite a bit, averaged a double-double. You know, how was that to have that relationship with him as well?
Yeah, so he was with the Mavs for training camp, but that guy had a crazy season, right? Because he played for the Mavs, he played for the Pacers. He left us and played for Team USA and then returned back to us. So compared to his other 4 seasons where he had been with New Orleans, been with OKC, stability was not on his thing this year, but he was so rock solid every time he played for us, every time he returned to us, every time he joined us. He would just be like, what did I miss? Although he's not a point guard, he was also a coach on the floor, and we'll talk about it a little later, but like one of my themes was, one of the words I chose was consistency. He was like the definition of consistency because he was never about scoring. It was never about how many points he scored. It was just about how do I impact winning. Some nights that might mean he scores 18, 20, 25 points, but other nights it might mean I just grab 18 rebounds and set a ton of screens, get roll behinds and kick it out to wide open shooters, grab another rebound, kick it out to another shooter, and then, they're asking me to guard the point guard, and I'm 6'9". So it's like he did whatever was asked of him, and that's why, similar to Delano, for different reasons, but that's why he's been at 4 years in the NBA. So he's as solid as they come, rock solid, leader for our team, and whenever we had him, we were lucky, fortunate to have him because he impacts winning.
Another player that definitely does is somebody that added a little hardware to his titles, Jamarian Sharp. One of the guys that was a constant theme for us because he was your most impactful player plus and minus wise. He was named Defensive Player of the Year, led the G League in blocks and field goal percentage. I mean, can you try to articulate the dominance that Jamarian Sharp requires when he's on?
I mean, the numbers that you just laid out right there, that says it for itself. But he's a really cool one as well because I started with him in 2024 in Summer League. So this was his second season with the Legends. Although I didn't coach him last year, I coached him in Summer League 2 years ago, coached him in Summer League last year. So I've been around him, and then this year I got to really help him and work with him this year. But his growth is like if you took him there, compared him to the player he is today, he's done so many good things and he's advanced his career already. But he was our true defensive anchor, and it was like a big thing about basketball is everyone always they try to just section it off offense and defense, but like offense and defense flow together, right? Because when you're getting stops, it's easier to score. When you're struggling to score, it's harder to get stops. So by him just being an absolute anchor at the rim, blocking everything, if you don't block it, teams are either choosing not to shoot or they're taking tough shots and missing at the rim. He's number one. Since they started doing the tracking, he's number one in rim field goal percentage allowed all time in the G League since they started tracking. So yeah, it's like teams are shooting 40% on layups at the rim, which is ridiculous. So they're making 4 out of 10 layups, which is really bad. So, but he's that, but then he's also such a positive impactor on our practice energy. He brings emotion and just is super positive every day. So we're really happy with that. And then, I mean, he's 7'5". Like he can do things that no one else can. We can't teach height, right? That's what everyone says, but he can reach to the top of the backboard. And we told our players offensively, hey, if you're in a bad spot, just throw it up. He'll go get it. Like if he doesn't, we'll yell at him. We'll talk to him about that. But encouraging them, because defense is his calling card. But hey, we got to reward the big fella. Like he's playing defense, and then last thing with him is it's a little overlooked, but he gets Defensive Player of the Year. Everyone sees the blocks. Everyone sees him at the rim. He talks more than anyone on our team on defense. He's telling people where to go. He's keeping our defense organized. So just a luxury to have. And again, like all the guys that we've already highlighted, just grateful that he was a part of our group for as many games as he was.
You mentioned a luxury with his height. My favorite moment of the season, I don't even think I told you, was when he had the battle with Rocco Zikarsky from the Minnesota Timberwolves, 7'5", 7'3". That was the first time that each of them kind of got to size up somebody close to their height comparison. Absolutely love it. You had some great guys on the team. I want to talk about your big three, because obviously every coach kind of has a mantra, something that makes them you and your message. So what is yours?
Yeah, so for the Legends, I just, before the season started, Malcolm he asked me to have a lunch, and then he was like, so what are you going to emphasize this season? And just off the top of my head, it wasn't even pre-planned, because I was thinking through what words I wanted to use, but I just rattled them off, and it was competitive, consistent, and confident. And he was like, oh, it's the 3 C's. And I was like, sure, I guess.
It is.
Yeah, so it just came organically, and that was like what was on my mind. And then from there, it stuck, and like, consistency that's really what being a NBA player is about, right? 82 games, anyone can come in and have one good game. Anyone can come in and have 2 good games, but being able to do it over and over and over, that's what being an NBA player is. And that's why you see now the NBA playoffs are going on. You see why these teams are able to be successful. It's because they do it every night, night in and night out. And if they have one night off, now they bounce back the next night. So consistency, crucial. And then being competitive, basically meaning trying to win every single possession, trying to get the most you can squeeze out of every single possession. It's the age of analytics. It's the age of how can we maximize the points per possession on every single time. So that means you have to be maximally competitive on every one. And practice was like that. So pretty much every drill we did had a winner and a loser. It had punishment. It had, if you make the free throw, now the other team has to run. If you lose, now you have to do some sort of punishment. So competing at the highest level, that's crucial. And then being confident. If you're a shooter, shoot the ball when you're open. If you pick up full court and play defense, do that every single time. If you're a great playmaker, get in the paint and play make. Be confident in your abilities. Know that you belong here. Know that you have a coach that's fostering. I'm never going to hold someone back. I'm fostering you to do what you do, but at the highest level. So I'm trying to maximize each person in their role. I'm not going to put someone in a box and say, hey, don't take that shot or don't do this. So that was what I tried to foster with all three of those words, and that's why those are so near and dear to me. And I think we didn't do them all the time, but if we had a game where you can look back and subjectively say we were competitive, consistent, and confident, it usually resulted in a win, I would say.
2 more for you, Coach. When you look back on this year, maybe not the record that you had and the goals that you had reaching playoffs, but what did you learn from this team? What did you learn as a head coach?
Yeah, I touched on it already a little bit, but I learned adaptability. So when you make a game plan, it's picture perfect, got everything written out, got it all in your head, structured how you want to sequence the play calls, you want to draw up the plays. Boom, the roster changes on a dime, right? A two-way is called up, or you add a two-way, you add an assignment player. Maybe you don't have any centers, you have only power forwards, you don't have any point guards, who's going to dribble it up? So I learned from all of those that to be flexible and not be just, I can only operate one way. I learned to be flexible and adaptable in any situation possible. I learned when I create a practice plan and then we have 8 players practicing, well, the scrimmage portion is out. So now how can I still help these guys get better? So it forced me to be creative. And I feel like the next opportunity I have to be a head coach and lead a team next season with the Legends, I'll have so much more under my belt than I had going into that. So that was the biggest thing I learned from this season, as well as like in-game management. The emotions run high, right?
Oh, yeah.
One thing happens, yeah. The emotions, my emotions, as well as the players, like one thing happens, and if you look from a bird's eye view, you watch the tape back, it was like, probably could have just gone with a next play mentality, but then one play spirals you out. So trying to teach them managing emotions in real time is a big thing. I actually learned from Kyrie when I would be on the bench as video coordinator. We would be coming in talking about the coverages, talking about this. The coaching staff and Kyrie would just say, manage emotions, guys, manage emotions. Everyone would be looking at him like, okay. Like, and so it's like deep breath. And the G League timeouts, I mean, they're 30 seconds long once you do all the mandatories, and it's hectic, it's crazy. Guys are frustrated, I'm frustrated, the staff's frustrated, but got to be able to move on to the next play, and that's a big thing I took away from this.
And then you talk about the players going into the offseason with momentum. What about for you? With now adjusting with this girl dad role as well, and we talked a little bit about your summer plans, but yeah, just your position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first it's reflecting, right? So I put in 6 years in the NBA in player development, in video, learning, growing, learning from different coaches. Even though I've been with Dallas now for my 5th year, it's like different coaches have come and gone, learning from all these guys. So first it's reflecting on, like, I put so much out there, and now how did it go? What can I do better? And in the moment, you're trying to do that, but it's difficult to do that in real time. So birth of my daughter, I missed the last 2 games, and then now I'm soaking up the dad life. And then now I've watched some of our games, rewatched them from a different perspective. Oh, could have done this, could have done that. And then, now it transitions into the NBA offseason routine, which is draft workouts. So now I'm watching the draft workouts from a new lens, where I'm watching them rather than how can this guy help the Mavs. I'm still watching them that way, but now it's like, if this player is on an E10 with the Legends, can they be one of our core pieces? If this player's on a two-way and they get sent to us on a random Tuesday, how can we incorporate them? So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a great process. And then, like I said, already touched on, that leads into Summer League. Get to work with the guys who will end up being with the Legends. We had a bunch of guys from Summer League on the Legends: Matt Cross, Demoy, Jordan Hall, Sharp. So all those guys, and then Nemhard, Miles Kelly, Musa, like all those guys played for Summer League, and then now, it starts back over. But now I'm approaching it with a year under my belt, a little bit more experience, and a little bit more just a lot to look forward to.
So much wisdom shared. Coach, we thank you for the time. I know it is few and far between with a newborn, but congratulations to you and your family. And I had a blast with you guys in the season.
So it was a pleasure. Thanks so much, Abby.